It's absolutely normal to not want to get up and do things sometimes, especially when you know there's a bucket load of work that needs to be done.
But even though it's normal, it's not something that really makes life feel good or meaningful, something that we enjoy or are proud of. So, in this video, we will go through the whole gamut of strategies, starting from the quick solutions, then going to the ones that make staying motivated just something we do, to the things that we don't really realize but they hurt our motivation when trying to do anything, and finally, to the key that makes not feeling motivated a thing of the past. Now, having a long term plan to make getting motivated or staying motivated easy is good, but more often than not, it's the quick fixes, those quick solutions that get us into motion is more the thing that we are looking for. So let's first take a look at the strategies and techniques that will help you take that first step when not feeling motivated to do anything. And we will be going from the strategies to deal with feeling not motivated enough to even get up and start doing something to the more complex situations which start affecting the quality of our life. The first one is to help start taking action when we have been procrastinating for whatever reason. Getting started is usually the hardest part, and the more we keep shifting it forward, the more unmotivated we get towards that task. And so the question is how to take that first action step, how to get the swing of motivation going. Because motivation is actually something that comes from taking action. Every goal we accomplish, no matter how big or small, releases dopamine in our brain. It's the brain chemical responsible for feeling ready for action, for feeling motivated. So we finish a small task and it makes us feel, okay, I did that. I think I can handle a bit more. And so the momentum keeps building. And the simplest way to help take that first step is to attach something that we enjoy to the task we have to do. For example, if you like music, play some focus music while working on a project, or invite a friend to come along when running errands to make it feel more like a friend's day out, make it feel less of a chore. We like to do things that we enjoy, so making the task a bit more fun or a little less drab can help take that first action step and get the ball rolling. Or try the 10-minute rule. Set the timer for 10 minutes and start with the option to stop working as soon as the 10 minutes are up. The 10-minute limit makes it feel easy and manageable, and so doesn't need much effort to begin. Plus, by the end of the time, we usually feel it wasn't as bad as we were imagining it to be, and so we could keep doing it for a bit longer. It's always not that straightforward. Sometimes there's so much to do that it overwhelms us into inaction, makes us feel tired even before starting. Sometimes, instead of starting on something I know would take up a lot of effort, I tend to do anything else just to fill up the time so that I can justify it to myself that I was so busy that I didn't find the time to work on that. This is so because our brain likes to save as much energy as possible and so use shortcuts called heuristics whenever possible. And that's why our first instincts aren't always reliable, but that's going in a different direction and is a discussion for another day. Right now, we just need to know that this energy saving bias of our brain doesn't like anything complex because thinking and processing uses up a lot of energy. And when we come up against something tough, something that requires a lot of work, we can find very creative ways to justify why we aren't working on that. These are the two techniques to get things moving when feeling not motivated enough even to begin doing something. First is for the situation when we want to do something, plan on maybe what we have always wanted to do, but the time or situation wasn't right. Or no, we want to reach a certain goal but just can't seem to find the time to start working on it. The solution for this is to create a plan on how we are going to go about it with clear action steps. This will make the goal less vague and we won't have to worry about what all it might need to reach there. And broken into small milestones or small goals, it also feels less daunting, like okay, so I need to get that done first. Yeah, I think I can handle that. And we become more ready to get moving, start taking action. The second one is when we know clearly what needs to be done, but there's so much to do that we kind of feel drained out even before starting. The idea with this too is kind of similar. Make it feel less complex, easier with closer milestones to feel that rush of achievement. Break the action steps into kind of no-brainer chunks so that they don't demand much thinking or effort. For a very simple example, let's say you have been shifting the task of tidying up your room to the next day for about 10 days now, just because it feels like there's so much to do. The way to get started would be to make a list of all the areas that need tidying up, like set the bed, organize the desk, organize the wardrobe, vacuum. Together, these tasks might sound like a bit of work, but individually, they sound very doable. There are also times when the problem isn't the size or quality of the task or our willingness to take action. It's about feeling not motivated enough to keep showing up because our heart isn't in it anymore. The goals we set ourselves, no matter whether it's small like getting something done around the house or something big like life milestone decision, how these goals speak to our heart matter a lot when it comes to feeling motivated or not motivated to put in the effort that they demand, especially on tough days when it's not going the way we expected it to. Though the ideal solution would be to ask why before creating any goal. Why and how does it matter to us, so that conviction pulls us through the tough times. But going through daily life, it isn't always possible to remember asking yourself that before saying yes to anything, especially when it's not something monumental like a career choice or some other big decision. So to work with an already committed decision, look at the bigger picture. Try to find how what you have to do plays a role in your life, matters to you, like showing up for a side hustle or part-time job. Those are the things where you don't always like what you have to do, but when you consider it as something that's making it possible for you, even in a small way, to do what you want to do, it makes it easier to put in that extra effort and keep showing up. But when it's something that's important to us but still showing up consistently feels tough, it's usually because at some level we feel either it's demanding things that needs us to step out of our comfort zone, and so we feel a kind of resistance, or it's the doubt and uncertainty of how things are going to turn out, those thoughts about what could go wrong. But that's our evolutionary negative bias, our tendency to fixate on the negatives in any situation because that's what gave us a better chance at survival. So, to override that and balance the outlook, bring the possibilities and potential into play. Think and clearly imagine, what if this does work out? What if I can pull this off? What would that mean for me? When we balance our outlook, it makes us more willing to take that first step to get things moving or to put things back in motion.
Instead of letting the fear stop us from taking action, we should leverage it, use it to motivate us to give our best. Fear of failure can be good if we use it to push us to give our best. It's only when it stops us from taking action that fearing failure becomes an issue. And so, to stop being afraid of failure because of how it might look, it helps to ask which one means more to us: the satisfaction of accomplishing the thing, or avoiding the temporary discomfort of things maybe not working out. Asking whether it would really be as bad as we are imagining it may be right now. To tone down the stress and anxiety of something we are dreading, use cognitive reframing, challenging and replacing automatic negative thoughts with more helpful and rational ones, like, just because I've had trouble speaking in front of a large group doesn't mean it will happen again. It's a good way to develop our self-regulatory neural pathways, making us better able to regulate the nervous system. If you feel going to the gym to stay fit and active feels like a chore, even when you have been able to do it consistently for a couple of months, change your approach to fitness. Instead, maybe you can join a rhythm-based program like Zumba, or a slower-paced but equally effective routine like yoga. Anything that is more in sync with your style.
And you know what's better than depending on techniques or strategies to get back into action when not feeling motivated is having a system in place, a routine that takes motivation out of the equation, or habits that make motivation work on autopilot.
When we say motivation, we are usually talking about willpower, about something that puts us on track to taking action. But motivation comes from taking action. It comes after we see things moving forward. You do something, the result lights us up, it gets us excited, and we get motivated to do more. And what helps us show up consistently through all the ups and downs and roadblocks are habits, because habits make taking action easier than not taking action. And with the right habits in place, it gets easier to stay motivated and get things done. So let's get straight to the habits that make staying motivated just something you do. The first one is to get into the habit of procrastinating. Just like physical pain, our emotions are meant to trigger some kind of action, like removing ourselves from harm's way or doing something that would make us feel better. When we feel like procrastinating, don't feel motivated enough to take action, it's actually trying to tell us something. Maybe things are getting boring for us, and so we are looking for a change or some excitement. Or maybe we are getting worried about the bulk of the work that has to be handled, and so it's telling us to break it up into manageable chunks. Or maybe we are worried at some level that we won't get the results we are expecting, and so it's telling us to get our confidence up or get relevant help or to skill up. So we need to deal with this the right way, get in the habit of procrastinating the right way. Just like it's important to manage daily stress so that we don't end up feeling overwhelmed, when we let ourselves shift tasks for a bit later and do something that makes us feel good, it helps us recharge, feel refreshed, and get motivated enough to act on what needs to be done. When we let our desire for something new or something enjoyable play out a bit, it helps us get recharged to start taking action. Think of it as a mini vacation before getting back to our duties and responsibilities. Habit number 2 is something that helps us initiate action. It's the habit of asking why. Like, what would it mean for us to get it done? Why are we doing this? Say someone doesn't like their current job, so why are they still doing it? Maybe because it's allowing them to save up enough so that they can start traveling the world, or it's sustaining them till the time they can get the training that will land them their dream job, or it could be a number of things that make showing up for the job preferable to not doing it. We need to get into the habit of drilling down the why till it connects to something close to our heart, speaks to us at a deeper level. To get motivated to show up, we need to know how it's going to help our life move, no matter how directly or indirectly, in the direction we want it to move. This brings us to the third habit, that of chalking out an action plan. See, getting motivated is only half the battle. The real trick is staying motivated to take action consistently. That's what gets us to the end goal, whether it's about exercising daily or getting some job done or getting better quality of sleep at night. The key is to look at everything as a project assigned to you. So when we look at anything as a project to be handled, we first find the end goal to set direction for our actions. Then we figure out which actions will take us there. We then break these up into chunks that are the right mix to keep things interesting, neither overwhelmingly tough or so easy that it bores us out. In an interview, neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman explained how dopamine, one of the neurochemicals that helps us stay motivated, helps us feel motivated, is released more from the anticipation of a result. That means that the habit of taking the next step keeps us showing up, essentially get motivated to reach the end goal. And acknowledging and applauding every small win along the way really helps us stay motivated in the long run. But we can't plan action into a day that's already chock full of to-dos, must-dos, and need-to-dos. So the next habit that creates space for taking action effectively to get excited and motivated to take the next step is the habit of prioritizing. When we focus on things based on their priority, whatever we can fit into our day makes us feel productive at the end of it, because we are no longer spinning, doing a bit of everything without actually getting anything done, without actually finishing anything. So when we do things based on how important they are, we are able to complete them, feel the value of our effort, and the feeling of accomplishment it brings gets us motivated to take further action. And what helps limit the things that we commit to, that we agree to spend our energy on, is saying yes intentionally, saying no to the things that are going to divert us from our priorities, essentially building healthy personal boundaries, because it's something that uncomplicates our life and helps us stay motivated for the right things in life. One of the major things we should say no to is simply working hard. Hard work is a virtue, a very important life tool, but without a smarter approach, it can lead to frustration. Working hard but smart too gives us the most out of our time, energy, and resources. That's what checks off more things on our to-do list and frees up time to actually enjoy life. Do the things that we want to, not just the ones we have to. Work hard, but analyze your progress from time to time. See whether there's a better way, a faster, simpler, and more efficient way of approaching things. It will make things move in the right direction at a nice pace, freeing up time to unwind, relax, and recharge. And when we can see the results of our efforts, see getting things completed one after the other, it makes us more confident in our abilities and more satisfied with life. The next thing we should say no to is letting stress pile up in our life. A little stress is good for our immune system because it releases adrenaline in our body, which in turn activates the T cells that protects our body from bacterial and viral attacks. But when we don't address the things putting us in stress mode or do anything to unwind, relax, or slow down routinely, the abnormal state that stress puts our body in stays stuck, and it keeps getting added to over time until it overwhelms us, spinning, doing everything without being able to catch up. So, to stay productive and for our overall well being, it's important to make some kind of stress relief a part of the daily routine, whatever works for you and fits in your schedule. Stress might be good, but long term or chronic stress isn't. Getting acknowledged for our efforts, being appreciated, not only feels good, but is also an indicator that our efforts are going in the right direction. But this is only so when first, these feedbacks are genuine, given by people who know what they are talking about. And second, we are not leaning too heavily on what others think or say to know if we are going in the right direction. Because feedback on non technical or subjective things are essentially opinions. And opinions have a way of being heavily influenced by each individual's own experiences, values, priorities, and issues. So they aren't necessarily a correct reflection of who we are or what we do. So, one of the things we should say no to is attaching too much value to what others think or say. We need to aim for a healthy balance between what we know and feel is right and an outside perspective on our actions and decisions. Use external validation only as an occasional guide when feeling uncertain.
Sometimes it's the monotony of the situations or the things we are doing that make us feel like we aren't making any progress. So we start losing motivation to keep showing up. But feeling stuck in life, feeling like we are falling behind in life, losing time and deadlines because of all the distractions in our life can be pretty tough. And we usually end up leaning more towards the things that make us feel more in control, that distract us, like scrolling on the phone or playing video games. But that kind of creates a demotivation cycle because when we keep pushing things to later, when we keep procrastinating our tasks, the absence of any results, the lack of any progress makes us feel more unmotivated. So here we will be learning how to get over that feeling of falling behind in life or feeling stuck in life, and also how to overcome procrastination and handle those distractions properly so that we keep moving forward in the right direction.
Whether there's a tight deadline or not, sometimes it just feels too tough to stick to the task in hand and not start daydreaming or checking the phone or wanting to finish up something pretty unrelated. And even though it might feel impossible for certain things, the solution still is to make whatever we need to do more engaging and fun. It can be done, and I will show you how. Then I will tell you why this works. Here's what you do. Break up what needs to be done into tasks, one leading to another, just like different levels in a game. Assign points for every task done on time, done after time, or whichever way you like. You can even use the things distracting you as a reward for finishing something on time. Gamify it to make boring tasks more engaging and to make the tough ones easier to handle one small step at a time. Now, there are a couple of reasons why this works. The first one is that our ability to focus starts to dwindle at around the 20-minute mark. So, breaking up the tasks keeps our working time usually within this range, but if it doesn't, now that you know, you can plan the mini goals accordingly. And second, when we achieve even a small goal, it releases dopamine in our brain, and this gets all charged up for taking more action, for similar goals. In other words, it helps us stay motivated to keep taking action without getting distracted or sidetracked. And the third one is that We get distracted either when what we are doing is too boring or when it's too tough, and we have a sneaky feeling that the end result might not be much to our liking. And as an avoidance mechanism, we start getting distracted towards things that make us feel more in control. So breaking up the task into small chunks gives us the same feeling of being in control, because now the problems are smaller and they feel much more manageable. When we keep coming up with reasons why it would be a good idea to do something later, it's usually because we feel the task is either too tough and there would be a lot of hurdles in completing it successfully, or that it's too easy and so boring. Nir Eyal explains why this is so in his book Indistractable. One effective way of dealing with this is to have a plan in place for when things go wrong. This will tone down a lot of the feeling of resistance to starting, because knowing we will be able to solve any problems popping up makes the task feel easier, more within our range. The other one is to keep breaking down the task until each step becomes a no-brainer, so simple that it feels, yeah, that's easy, I can do it. But sometimes this very simplicity hurts how productive we are. When the task feels mundane or boring, we keep getting distracted with the things that seem more exciting or at least different. Our brain likes fresh experiences. It brings a rush of dopamine, making us feel happy. And so getting distracted is normal. But as Peter Drucker said, there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. So it's easy to come back after 10 minutes of answering emails or checking the phone and wondering, what was I doing? These distractions use up time and disrupt focus, hurting how efficiently we finish something. And one very effective way to boost productivity is to use these very things, the things distracting us, as reward for completing the task. The task gets completed without distraction and we get to enjoy what we like. Another way to deal with distractions is to use the situation support technique, knowing our distractions beforehand and removing them from the space of work, or at least from sight. Like turn the notifications off on your phone and computer, or put on noise cancelling headphones, or whatever triggers you to want to do something else. We all have only limited time and energy to spend in a day. And to make sure that it's enough for the things we really value, the things that will change your life, we need to remove all the clutter. Everyone's life situation is unique, so you would know what would best work for you. But a few things that work universally are to ask why every time. Asking why is important because it not only clarifies whether saying yes or no to something, committing to something, would fit in with what we want from our life, but it also helps us finish the things we begin, because when we are convinced of the value of something in our life, it becomes easier to come up with creative solutions to problems and stay motivated to see the thing through. Procrastination, the I'll do it later bug, is something which is behind a lot of stress, overwhelm, and clutter that we have in our life. Because procrastination can take many shapes, like perfectionism sometimes, overconfidence, or jumping from task to task, but the end result is always the same. Things simply don't get done. It can even make us super productive in short bursts, like working your head off to get that report ready in time when you used up 90% of the time doing something else. But that's something, those super productive bursts are something which we can't keep doing over and over again without it hurting our health, results, and motivation. We know something needs to be done, it's in our head. But if that isn't sending a strong signal to our hands for action, it means there's a gap and most of the messages getting lost en route. This is what world's leading memory and brain coach Jim Quick calls the H-cube effect, the head-heart-hand connection. When we don't tap into our conviction, leave our heart out of the chain, the message from our head to take action becomes weak and we tend to procrastinate. Whatever you need to do, make sure you are convinced of the reason behind it. If you aren't convinced of the reasons, then it's a good idea to reassess whether the task should really be on your to-do list. So you need to read this book or that 1000-page report, and knowing it's important isn't helping you open the book. What now? Break it down into manageable chunks. If looking at the big picture from a height makes you feel dizzy, it's better to keep your focus on each single step of the staircase leading you there. If you feel you can do more at the end of it, then go for it. Because sometimes reality is very different from what we see in our head. We either think of the task as tougher than it actually is, or we downplay our capacity, making the task feel way out of our comfort zone. Here's a pro tip. When breaking a big task into non-scary chunks, try to hit the sweet spot where the goal isn't so easy as to feel boring or so challenging as to overwhelm you into inaction. The next point will help you with this. There are a few things that trigger our brain into action, like if there's a hint of a risk, novelty of action, unpredictability, complexity, or pattern recognition, like if this happens, then that will follow. All these produce dopamine in our brain. It's a neurochemical connected with reward-motivated behavior and reflexes. But these action triggers don't work equally for everyone. Like unpredictability doesn't really fire me up into action. So figure out which of these triggers works for you and use that on tasks that you usually tend to postpone. Like for me, pattern recognition works most of the time. So whenever I have to do something out of my comfort zone, I follow it up with half a day of doing whatever I feel like, any crazy lazy thing, going for a long drive, shopping online, or lounging with a book. This teaches my brain that every risk taken, every uncomfortable step is going to lead to half a day of pure indulgence. And so when it recognizes this pattern, and also because the brain sees this as a reward, it throws up fewer excuses why I shouldn't be doing that task. Things get done and I end up being actually more productive. Stepping out of the comfort zone can be more comfortable if we plan things the way that works for us. So how do you do that? See, rewards, whether big or small, if they mean something to you, it signals to the brain that it's worth doing again, worth putting in the effort. Now, rewards don't necessarily have to be after you finish the task. What I mean is, if you can make the task more enjoyable or more comfortable for you, then that also counts as a reward. Break up a boring thing you have to do today, one that has reschedule written all over it. Take the task and break it up into interesting chunks. Brainstorm what can be done, what will get you interested. As part of my freelance writing gig, I once had to write about taking care of kitchen plumbing in winters. You can imagine how I felt about that, and the worst part was I couldn't get out of it. So to redeem a bit of the hard luck and get things moving, I broke it up into 4 half-hour actions. The first half hour I spent searching online for fun facts about the topic. Yes, there are. That made the next half hour of researching everything technical seem much easier because it created a kind of groove, a momentum. Then I spent the third half hour in making and enjoying a chocolate shake. What this did was shift my mind from focus mode to diffuse mode, a very good space to connect distinct pieces of information into a meaningful picture. So now with everything in place, I went back to my blank page and spent the last half hour in pouring that picture from my mind as words onto the page, and that got the job done on time. The more we make things comfortable for us, the easier it is to get them done and overcome procrastination. If it's the monotony that's making us feel like nothing's happening, being able to measure progress will help us, as research shows, feel happier, more satisfied with life, and essentially improve our subjective well-being. And this feeling in turn motivates us to keep working towards our goals, kind of creates an effective cycle. But if we find we are really not making any progress, just working the hamster wheel, then the goals and the plan we reversed engineered to reach there from where we are right now will help figure out what needs to change or be added, upgraded, or tweaked to start moving in the right direction. Our next point is about when the plan doesn't seem to be working anymore and we can't feel the momentum. A few days of productivity and then back to feeling stuck in the rut. This mostly happens either when we are working on something or towards something that's not really right for us, or we start comparing our progress even when the playing field wasn't level starting out or even along the way. And anyways, it's about, as Angela Duckworth calls it, living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Everyone moves at their own pace, and comparing our progress with someone else's sometimes makes it feel like we are falling behind in life, maybe actually stuck, getting nowhere. But sometimes when nothing seems to be working to help us get unstuck in life, It's usually because we are working towards things that everyone else is doing or things expected of us according to the unwritten code of society, but not what we really want to be doing. Make sure you are not spending your time and energy on things that are bringing you results or taking you closer to a goal that doesn't excite you, but just really something that you believe you are supposed to do. And if it's something that's moving you in the right direction, then realize that it's just a slump. And even the best sports people in the world hit a slump sometime or other in their life. So follow their example and do what they do. Analyze and tweak your strategy, amp up what's working, and do less of what's not working.
When it comes to getting motivated to do something, it's not just the obvious things, the things that we have been discussing till now that can hold us back. Even things like not being able to stop worrying or self-doubt or even getting late in the morning can hurt how motivated we feel throughout the day. Now, because awareness is the first step to any change, the next few ideas will identify the things that might be indirectly hurting our motivation and also show you how to make them work for you.
The first thing to do is have an end goal in mind, the one thing that will stop us from spiraling out of control, getting lost inside issues and what else might be. That's what stresses us out. See, according to researchers like Dr. David Hamilton, our brain can't really differentiate between reality and something that only exists in our imagination. That's why we wake up from nightmares panting or with a racing heart. So simply obsessing or worrying about what might happen, letting our imagination run wild about all those things that might generally happen in the future, makes us live through those difficult moments without any guarantee that these will ever really happen. So does that mean we should just wing it, not prepare for the future and just hope it doesn't happen? It's actually just the opposite. Worrying about the future can be good if we stop worrying aimlessly and actually have an end goal in mind, because that means we are focusing on one thing and that becomes a sort of goal for which we can come up with an action plan. This helps us stay prepared and feel more in control of both our present and future. And instead of just being a nagging thought at the back of our mind, it becomes a project to be prepared for and handled efficiently. To put it in a nutshell, just like Winston Churchill once said, an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. So we look for the challenge, for the puzzle to be solved in every worry that comes our way. See, treating what's worrying us as an opportunity instead of a roadblock is fine. But what if it's not in our control? Because there can always be things that are out of our control that we can't stop worrying about. See, even when something is out of our control, there always are other related things that we can influence or change to make the final outcome be more in our favor. It's like sending a rocket into space to deflect a meteorite from its path so that it doesn't crash on Earth. And exactly like that, to stop worrying about the things out of our control, we shift our focus to working on those things that will influence how the situation affects us. We are still worrying, but about the right things the right way, the productive way. We are essentially adding our voice to the outcome. What makes us doubt our choices? There are a lot of right answers, but the most common ones are we aren't sure it's the right thing to do or not. We doubt our ability to pull it off, and sometimes it's the fear of missing out on something good that spirals us down the indecision rabbit hole. That means if we are clear about our priorities in life, have a realistic idea of our strengths, weaknesses, and willingness to learn, and know how far we are willing to go, our boundaries, then we are able to assess the risk, benefits, and potential of any choice more confidently. The 6 hats technique becomes faster because we don't have to spend time over every option, thinking, rethinking, and doubting. We know for sure which ones work for us and which ones don't. Plus, when we ask why before making any choice, why are we even doing this? Why does it even matter to us? Then we are able to say pretty surely how much effort we are willing to put in and how far are we ready to step out of our comfort zone to make that thing happen. Decisions aligned with our values, goals, dreams, and priorities make us more confident in our choices, especially when they demand a lot of sweat, discomfort, and a sharp learning curve. Worrying can be good when it teaches us something. That's experience, adding skills, not just years to our life. Worrying can be good or bad depending on how it's done. Just like procrastination, if we can get to what's making us shift things to later, we can do it more effectively. Intentionally procrastinate to get back to work refreshed and recharged. When we overcome hurdles, learn, upskill and grow, we get a clearer idea of how much more we are capable of, and this boosts our confidence in a general sense in other areas too of our life. We all set goals, whether they are big life goals or little ones like cutting down on screen time or having 8 glasses of water a day. And achieving a goal makes us feel proud because then we don't need validation from others of our capacity to do something, and this boosts our self-confidence. Goals give a direction to our actions and decisions because when we set a goal, the reticular activating system of our brain lights up and it guides our attention and focus towards the things related to that goal. And bigger goals help us realize our strengths. To do this better, keep goals achievable because achieving one goal makes us more confident in being able to handle the next one successfully. And if they are big goals like life goals or career goals, then break these up into manageable chunks and treat each of these as an individual goal that we focus on one at a time. Second, treat failures as temporary setbacks to the goal plan instead of as highlighting some personal shortcoming. This keeps our confidence intact even when things are not working out the way we want. And third, word your goals right because that matters more than we realize. It can show whether we will be able to achieve a goal or keep working on it without reaching the end. Get the goals right because if we set the direction wrong, we are very likely to end up in the wrong place. Now, according to neuropsychologist Dr. Theo Sausidis, who wrote the book Brain Blocks, we either set promotion goals or prevention goals. Now, promotion goals are better because they have a set end goal. We want something we don't have yet, and so it leads to action. Like if we set the goal, get better sleep, it would mean taking action to ensure better sleep hygiene and other lifestyle changes so that we wake up feeling rested. Setting SMART goals with specifics would be better, but this is also good. But if we set prevention goals like avoid taking up any more assignments, then there's no clear action or a clear point of completion. And because it's kind of ongoing, so it becomes a tricky goal to achieve. How we word our goals makes a lot of difference because it makes the thing feel clear-cut and doable or something vague without a clear endpoint. And our motivation to keep showing up to see this thing through to the end depends a lot on this. Going a step further, if you write the goals down, not only do the ideas become clearer, get a more concrete form, but as goals researcher Dr. Gail Matthews found, we are also more likely to achieve those goals. And it really makes sense if you think of it because if we write our goals down where we can see them every day, they will stay at the top of our mind, they will stay in focus, and any action we take or any decision we make will be more aligned with those goals. One of the main reasons some goals get left behind is either because A, other more urgent things crop up and it keeps getting put on the back burner until we totally forget about it, or B, because the progress was too slow and we lost interest along the way. Now, a very easy way to fix this, one of the simplest ways to achieve your goals is to create milestones or mini goals along the way. Break the goals down into smaller, simpler chunks so that you can see the results of your efforts faster, feel the rush of achievement, and so stay motivated to keep taking action. Dopamine, one of the main neurochemicals responsible for feeling motivated, is released when our brain realizes that something important is going to happen. When we reach one goal, it feels good, and so we get charged up to take more action, and so we reach the next goal and the next one, and this creates a kind of chain reaction until we reach the end. Breaking the goal up into smaller ones also helps us overcome procrastination because instead of trying to climb the infinity staircase in one jump, we are more focused on climbing the first few steps to the first landing. That feels easy and we start taking action. And to stop other urgent things from taking over our time and energy, we need to schedule time in our day for working on our goals. And if we plan it right and are convinced of the value of that goal, no matter how directly or indirectly in our life, then the dopamine process takes over and step by step we reach our goal. And even short haul goals work better with plans because winging it, trying to puzzle out our action steps every day uses up a lot of energy, which our brain doesn't really like, and we are sooner or later going to start coming up with reasons why it's a good idea to quit working on that goal. And plans with wriggle room for reviewing and adjusting work even better. Having the space to make changes when something out of our control, when something unplanned happens and throws things out of whack. Otherwise, we end up worrying without any clue what to do. And according to researchers like Dr. David Hamilton, our brain can't really differentiate between imagination and reality. That's why we wake up from nightmares panting or with a racing heart. Letting our imagination run wild with what might happen only hurts our motivation and doesn't get us any closer to our goals. But learning to worry the right way can actually help us reach our goals more effectively. So first, worry with an end goal in mind. What do we want to solve specifically? And second, remember that even when things are out of our control, there's always something that we can influence or change to make the outcome be closer to what we want it to be. Worrying with an aim to do something about it, adding that to our action plan, essentially rerouting to keep moving towards our goals, because otherwise we start feeling stuck in life. We lose confidence when we worry, what will they think if I mess up? And so we are more confident in what we say or what we do when we stop worrying about what others might feel or say about us. To do this better, first plan and go prepare the best you can, even if it's going to a gathering that's making you anxious. Think what you can do to make this experience more enjoyable for yourself and keep your focus on that rather than on all the things that could go wrong. Having a plan will make you more confident. Second, know and be comfortable with your strengths and weaknesses, because the understanding that you have the choice and power to change, to learn, to upgrade, whichever of these you want to, will improve self-worth and boost your confidence. Let's take those feedbacks or criticisms that push our buttons, the no offense comments or hurtful opinions. To effectively navigate these, it's important to understand how opinions and feedback work. See, we interpret the world around us through what we have learned from experience, from our memories of what we know to work. And these become a kind of reference library and is what we call mindset. That's why there are so many different opinions about any given single thing, because everyone has different experiences, different memories of what works that create the web of understanding for each of us. And so when someone says something hurtful to us as a feedback or opinion, if it isn't constructive, it has got nothing to do with us. It's simply their view, their interpretation of things through their own issues, biases, and experiences. And it might work perfectly for them, but it definitely isn't the right yardstick to judge us or our actions by. The results through their filtering system doesn't say anything about us. And the key to how not to take things personally when dealing with destructive comments is to remember that it's not our duty to comply with others' filtering system in life. If it's not in sync with your values, with your priorities, then treat it the same way you would something rude shouted from a passing car. Feeling hurt, allowing something to reach our heart and hurt us means we are giving that person a lot of power, assigning a lot of value to them. So before taking anything personally, ask yourself if you would go to that person for advice if something big was at stake for you. This single question will eliminate a lot of things crowding your life and attention. Who better to learn which daily success habits are most useful than from successful people themselves, because their habits are geared towards making them constantly better at what they do, manage their time super efficiently, and keep their mind-body attitude in perfect shape, ready for any challenge. Are they superhumans? No, they are just normal human beings with the right attitude, one that helps them see which things truly deserve their time and which ones don't. And one of the most important things for them is the habit of starting the day off right, having a morning routine that works for them. And it's important because you know how usually everything seems to go wrong from the moment you are late for work in the morning? Yeah, that's why a morning routine that works is important.
Now, we know that the neurochemical dopamine plays a very important role in how motivated we feel to do anything or even generally in life, and so in a sense it holds the key to staying motivated. But according to neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman, our brain produces dopamine when we are working towards a perceived success, towards a goal, and so when we make seeking that goal a reward in itself and not pin all our hopes and happiness and desires on getting the result in our hand, we crack the motivation code. Because that's how successful people keep going from win to win, from a successful startup to a perfectly visioned non-profit organization without losing their steam, without losing their excitement. They keep their focus on the why and not on the rungs of the ladder. And here's how we too can cultivate that attitude and make not feeling motivated a thing of the past.
Finding your why is important because when we start with a why, try to understand and be convinced of the reason first for doing anything. It makes it easier to stay motivated, overcome obstacles, basically achieving your goals effectively. To be efficiently productive, it's important to stay consistent, show up every time, and to do that, we need to stay motivated. Now, motivation isn't something easy to come by on a daily basis, especially when we have to do something simply because there's no one else to do it, when the reason for doing that task doesn't really speak to us. But even in that case, if we break down our why, make it mean something, it becomes easier to stay motivated to finish the job because we are more likely to do something if it speaks to us on a deeper level, connects at an emotional level with us. So when you have to do something because, say, you can't avoid it, start breaking down the reasons. Simplify it till it means something to you. Why are you in this in the first place? How would the result make even a small difference in your life? And how would it feel to have done it, accomplished it? Those questions will help you find your real why, the reason that will relocate your source of motivation to within you, help you show up every time and stay consistently productive. See, we are more comfortable doing things that we like to do that fire us up. It's easier to stay consistent, brainstorm and solve hurdles, and stay geared up for the next one when we reach one goal if we enjoy what we do. So self-love, the compassion to make things easy and enjoyable for yourself, and focusing on the opportunities that make the best use of your unique qualities, makes this whole journey to success feel faster, and there are way fewer "are we there yet" moments. According to the New York bestseller book The Warren Buffett Way, he believes that everyone's wired in a particular way, and to have meaningful success in life, it's important to understand and appreciate our unique qualities and focus on those opportunities that make the best use of them. Self-love is important for success is that it empowers us to be the kind of person who refuses to give up. See, we are bound to make mistakes whether in personal life or at work, and we are also likely to come up short from time to time no matter how well prepared we are, because that's how things work when we aim big or at least at par with our potential. Show yourself compassion, and instead of feeling bad or beating yourself up over a mistake, accept that setbacks are a part of the process. They don't mark the end of the road. And instead of focusing on how it feels, how things could have been different, why this had to be so, focus on what was missing, what fell short, and what could be done differently so that you have a better chance of succeeding next time.
The best and the most sustainable kind of motivation is that which is driven by ideas that promise us a sense of purpose, of meaningful progress, and also bring us moral satisfaction. And the habit of asking why and making everything we do resonate with what we want in life is one of the most powerful ways to be responsible for our own motivation, one that can even override the fear of failure. I will link this video over here if you would like to know how to stop losing out on life because of the things holding us back, even the fear of failure. I hope you found this video helpful. Take care, and I'll meet you in the next video.